Well, this is the rock of Cashel, and it rises above the fertile plain of Tipperary. It's one of Ireland's most historic and evocative sites. It's the seat of the ancient kings of Munster from AD 300 to 1100. And this is where St. Patrick baptized King Angus in about AD 450. Strategically located and perfect for fortification, the rock was fought over by local clans for hundreds of years. And finally, in 1101, the clever Murtagh O'Brien gave the rock to the church. His seemingly benevolent donation increased his influence with the church, which prevented his rivals, the powerful McCarthy clan, from regaining possession of the rock. And as Cashel evolved into an ecclesiastical center, Iron Age ring forts and thatched dwellings gave way to the majestic stone church buildings that are enjoyed by all today. So I'll take a look around here. We'll wander through some of the buildings, but you can see what a view from the top here. This is a limestone outcropping. The valley below was also carved by glaciers. This one just hung on for longer. So you certainly have a commanding view as you look around from this elevated spot. Now, nowhere else in Ireland can you see it better. The evolution of Irish devotion expressed in stone. This large lump of rock is a pedestal, and it supports a compact tangle of three dramatic architectural styles: an early Christian round tower and St. Patrick's High Cross, a Romanesque, which is the Cormac's Chapel, and the Gothic, the main cathedral. So this is the hall of the Vicar's Choir. It's a cellar, one of the youngest buildings on the rock, from about the early 1400s. This would have been a storage room for the vicars or the minor clerics appointed to sing during cathedral services. And today it contains a sparse collection of artifacts, many are copies, that are associated with the religious site. Nice choir loft up here. And this is a reconstruction, obviously.
We're doing it for primary school, they're teachers.
Okay. Now, this is not the original cross of St. Patrick. It's a replica. It's made of cement, same proportions, approximately the same color. The original is in the vault down at the bottom down there, but they do not allow it for viewing anymore because our guide said it was pretty boring. Now, underneath the cross, which was interesting, the massive base of the cross, the real one, is hollow. So is that for hiding valuable objects, to put things away in case you're being raided? Maybe it was just too heavy to move it around. Now, the cross stood outside for centuries, but hundreds of years of wind and rain, it slowly buffeted away important details, scouring it into a stub of its former glory. Now, inside what we were in earlier, in this great hall, you may have seen that large brown tapestry. The vicars were granted nearby lands by the Archbishop, and they lived comfortably here. They had a large fireplace inside. It was white. It had whitewashed limestone walls to reflect light and act as kind of a natural disinfectant against bugs. And window seats gave the blessedly literate vicars the best light to read by. The furniture inside was original, but the colorfully ornamented oak timber roof is a reconstruction built to medieval specifications using wooden dowels instead of nails. This was done in the 1970s, according to our guide. And that large wall tapestry shows King Solomon with the Queen of Sheba. Now, the vicars themselves, they kind of formed a sort of corporate body to assist the bishop with local administration, and they used a special seal to authorize documents such as land leases. It was a good system. Worked pretty well until some of the greedier vicars duplicated the seal for their own less holy purposes, forcing the archbishop to curtail its use. Now, St. Patrick baptized King Angus on the rock of Cashel in about AD 450. This is a copy of the 12th century cross carved to celebrate the handing over of the rock to the church 650 years after St. Patrick's visit. Typical Irish high crosses use a ring around the cross head to support its arms and to symbolize the sun, making Christianity more appealing to the sun-worshipping Celts. But instead, this cross uses the Latin design. The weight of the arms are supported by two vertical beams on each side of the main shaft, representing the two criminals who were crucified besides Christ. As we can see, though, only one of them is actually still there. Now, this building is Cormac's Chapel. It's the exterior of it. We went on the interior early on a tour, and I'll put another video up that shows the interior of this rather small chapel. They control it for temperature control reasons, humidity reasons, and to try to preserve what's remaining of those small frescoes that are inside. So as the wild Celtic Christian church was reined in and reorganized by Rome 850 years ago, new architectural influences from continental Europe began to emerge on the small, remote Irish landscape. Now, this small chapel, it's Ireland's first and its finest Romanesque church, was constructed in 1134 by King Cormac MacCarthy, reflects this evolution. You can imagine being here in the 12th century when this chapel and its tall round tower were the only stone structures sprouting from the rock, among a few long gone humble wood structures. The new Romanesque style reflected the ancient Roman basilica floor plan. Its columns and rounded arches created an overall effect of massiveness and strength. Romanesque churches like the Dark Fortress with thick walls. They were like dark fortresses with thick walls and squat towers and a few windows. Irish stone churches of this period, like the one at Glendalough in the Wicklow Mountains, were simple, rectangular buildings emphasizing function. The two large square towers resemble those in Regensburg, Germany, further suggesting that well-traveled medieval Irish monks brought back new ideas from the continent. And if we look above the doorway here, it is pretty aged out here, but if you see the weathered tympanum above the door, it's a carved hippo. Some people call it a hippo. It's actually an ox, representing the gospel of author St. Luke. Well, here in the graveyard, this graveyard is full. The 20-foot tall stone shaft at the edge of the graveyard, marking the O'Scully family crypt, was once crowned by an elaborately carved Irish high cross. It was destroyed during a lightning storm, actually, in 1976. The fortified walls date from the 15th century, when the riches of this outpost merited a little extra protection. Now, looking out over the plain of Tipperary, it is some of the most Ireland's most fertile land, and it's earned its nickname, the Golden Vale. In St. Patrick's time, it was covered with oak forests. From the corner of the church beyond the fortified wall on the left, we can see a ruined 13th century Hoare Abbey dominating the fields below. On the other side, I'll bring it to you in a little bit. I've actually found the right area here. My apologies earlier, because this is the O'Scully family crypt. Okay, and that very top of it had a taller thing with a cross on it, but that cross was destroyed in that lightning storm in 1976. Now, this is a great view looking out over these lush plains of Tipperary. Okay, so it's, again, some of the best soil in Ireland. It was called the Golden Vale during St. Patrick's time. It was covered all with oak forests. And now you can see, let's see, if we look way out here, can we see the ruin? Don't see it. I think it was over to the side over here. We'll get a picture of it a little bit later. Now, this is the key point. This is the round tower, the first stone structure built on the rock after the church took over in the year 1101. Now, the shape of these towers is unique to Ireland, and though you might think the towers like this were chiefly intended as a place to hide in case of invasion, they were used primarily as bell towers and as lookout posts. Now, this tower stands 92 feet tall, with walls more than 3 feet thick. The doorway, which once had a rope ladder, was built high up, not only for security, but honestly for making the foundation stronger. A ground level entrance door makes the thing weaker because gravity is what holds it in place. So a higher up door serves as a structural thing as well. The interior once contained wooden floors connected by ladders and served as safe storage for the monks' precious sacramental treasures. The tower's stability is impressive when you consider its age and the winds that it has endured and the shallowness of its foundations. The foundations are only about 5 feet underground. Well, here at the north transept, we can notice the square put-log holes in the exterior wall. And during construction, wooden scaffolding was anchored into these holes. Now, after the structure was completed, the builders, they simply sawed off the scaffolding, leaving small blocks of wood embedded in the walls. Now, with time, the blocks rotted away, and the holes became favorite spots for birds to build their nests. Now, just before you enter into the cathedral, there's a little small well right here. I'm looking through the grating here. Its stone lip is grooved from ropes after centuries of use. Without this essential water source, the rock could not have withheld a siege and would not have been as valuable to clans and clergy. In 1848, a chalice was dredged from the well, likely thrown there by fleeing medieval monks intending to survive a raid. They didn't make it, because if they had, they'd have probably retrieved the chalice. Well, now we're inside the chapel. Now, traditionally, churches face east toward Jerusalem and the rising sun. But because this cathedral was squeezed between an existing chapel, the Cormac Chapel, a round tower, and a drinking well, making it face east, the builders were forced to improvise by giving it a cramped nave and an extra long choir where the clergy gathered to celebrate Mass. Now, built between 1230 and 1290, the church features pointed arches and high, narrow windows that proclaim the Gothic style of the period. And it also let in more light than earlier Romanesque churches. We look up underneath here, we're underneath the central bell tower, and you can see the ribbing up on top. Okay, the ribbing of the vaulted ceiling. The hole in the middle was a rope used to ring the church bells. Now, the wooden roof is long gone. When the Protestant Lord Inchiquin, who became one of Oliver Cromwell's generals, attacked the Catholic town of Cashel in 1647, hundreds of townfolks fled to the sanctuary of this cathedral. Inchiquin packed turf around the exterior, and he burned the cathedral down, massacring those inside. This is the altar area where the main altar once stood. And you would still can go way up here. So you're standing on the gravestones of the 16th century rich and famous. You can see here in the nave these beautiful windows. Graceful Gothic style, while the left wall hides the Cormac's chapel. A line of stone supports on the left wall once held the long wooden balcony where the vicars sang. Closer to the altar, high on the same wall, directly above the pointed doorway, is a small rectangular window. Okay. That small rectangular window right there called the leper's squint, which allowed unsightly lepers to view the altar during Mass without offending the congregation. Now this wall tomb, the Grand Wall tomb, on the left contains the remains of Archbishop Miller McGath, the scoundrel of Cashel, who lived to be 100. From 1570 to 1622, McGrath was the Protestant Archbishop of Cashel who simultaneously profited from his previous position as a Catholic Bishop of Down. He married twice, he had lots of kids, he confiscated the ornate tomb lid here from another bishop's grave and converted back to Catholicism on his deathbed. Now this modern wooded structure protects these 15th century frescoes of the crucifixion of Christ that were rediscovered during renovations in 2005. They're a little patchy, they're hard to make out, and just as rare for Ireland as the centuries-old frescoes in the ceilings of Cormac's Chapel. Here you can see some wonderful carvings of early Christian saints lining the outside walls of a tomb. So this big pile of rock here was debris from what was once this tower. Try to picture where it might have been perched in the ragged puzzle of the ruins above. This end of the cathedral was converted into an archbishop's castle in the 1400s, shortening the nave inside even more. And looking up high into the castle's damaged top floors, you can see the bishop's residence chamber and the secret passageways that were once hidden inside the thick walls. Lord Inchiquin's cannons weakened the structure during the 1647 massacre, and in 1848, a massive storm, known as the Night of the Big Wind, a creative title, in Irish lore, flung this huge chunk from the ruins above. In the mid-1700s, the Anglican Church transferred cathedral status to St. John's in town, and the Archbishop abandoned the drafty rock for a more comfortable residence, leaving the ruins as we see them today. And as promised, those are the ruins that I spoke of earlier. They are open for visit, and it's a bit of a walk down there, which we're not going to do today because we have to get back in time for our next tour. But I hope you've enjoyed my little walk around the Rock of Cashel, thanks to many sources, but primarily Rick Steves and his fabulous audiobooks for most of the information we found in there, and The Lonely Planet and a little Fromers as well. Be well.